Greetings little guzzlers. We're on a Chinese theme today, and we're going to make a classic British Chinese restaurant favourite. Shredded chili beef. Now, or crispy beef, yeah, what you want to call it. This is a British Chinese invention. It's not a proper one. So obviously you're going to need a few ingredients like beef, for instance. But we're going to make up some sort of marinade and some sauces. And what I've got in this little bowl is some bird's eye chilies, 2 bird's eye chilies de-seeded and cut into little rings. And then I want about 1 inch or so of ginger, and I want a few garlic cloves. And what we want to do to these is basically we want to chop it all up nice and fine. Got my big chopper out now because I'm doing Chinese, aren't I? So I'm going to chop all this up nice and fine. I'm going to do the same to the garlic, and I'm going to chuck it in that bowl with the chili. Okay. So just going to get that all nicely finely chopped. So there's my chili, my ginger, my garlic, and I've also got some finely chopped coriander stalks. Oh, actually it's not. It's just coriander chop. Do not really fresh coriander. So you chop your stalks of your coriander, keep the leaves because we'll have them for garnish. We won't because we ain't got any. So that's there ready to go. Okay. So next thing we want to do is make our sauce. Okay, so let me get myself a little bit sorted because I've already done one meal or food thing, if you like. I've got another thing to come, a main to come after this. So I've got all my ingredients here. I'm just going to get sorted to what I need for my sauce. So I've got another bowl. Okay, this is what I'm going to put my sauce ingredients in. Now, into this I'm going to add about 4 tablespoons of clear honey. It's not quite clear because I didn't quite have enough, so I put some ordinary honey in there. That won't matter though, to be honest. So that's gone in there. Okay, and then I want some rice vinegar, and I want 6 tablespoons of that. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we want some dark soy sauce. I want about ½ a tablespoon of that. Good. Okay, and then I want some ketchup, and for that I want 3 tablespoons of ketchup. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so might seem a bit odd for a Chinese meal, but remember, like I said, this isn't actually a traditional Chinese dish. So we're now just going to mix all that together and then try and get all that honey dissolved up. Okay, so we've done our frying ingredients, if you like, that will be sort of doing the final bit of frying in. We've got our sauce ingredient here, just getting that all mixed in. So the next thing we're going to do is we need to prepare our meat. Now, I've got a fresh steak, a bit like in one of the other dishes I do. Because we want quite thin slices, you can put it into the freezer for about 20 to 30 minutes. Just makes it easy to slice. I'm not doing that tonight. So here's my steak. Now I want to cut this into thick-ish strips because it's quite a thin steak. I'm going to leave them sort of that width, but if it was a thicker bit of steak, you might then want to just slice them in half. Okay, so what we want to do is try and get them really all the same length, he says, then having one that ain't anywhere near the same length. Okay, so I was being a bit of a bugger, bit sinewy that bit. So I'm just going to get this steak sliced up. So there's my strips, and I'm going to put them in a fresh bowl. Okay, and then what we're going to do to that, we're going to add some marinade ingredients. So into this we're going to put 1 whole egg. Okay, we're going to put a generous pinch of sugar, and then we want some light soy sauce. How much do I want for this? 1 to 2 tablespoons. Yeah. 1, 2. And then we want some sesame oil, and how much of that do we want? About a teaspoon of that. Okay, that'll do. So all we're going to do now is, for now, I'm going to get our hands dirty, and we're just going to mix all that in together. Get that egg broken up. Coat all of that meat. Okay, not making an awful lot here. Okay, this is more just a little sort of my starter for us tonight, but obviously you could put more steak in here. Okay, so then you're going to want a nice big bowl of corn flour. Okay, but we need to season that, so I'm just going to again have a quick wash up. We'll season that, and then I'll show you what we do with it. And yes, you will want a lot of corn flour. So into that corn flour, I'm just going to put about half a teaspoon of salt and about the same amount of freshly ground black pepper. Okay, this is perhaps a little coarse, who cares? Alright, so what we now do is we take these strips of beef, okay, and we shove them into the corn flour. Now, the reason we've got so much corn flour in there is that obviously to begin with, these are going to stick, okay, and it's just going to all clump up, and we just got one lump. But if we've got enough corn flour in there, and I do have to give credit for this to Jeremy from School of Wok, whose recipe I'm following for this one. Okay, obviously there's a lot of these recipes about for crispy beef, but I'm using his, and as he quite rightly pointed out, you keep massaging that in there, and after a while they separate into the individual bits, and it's going to coat each one nicely with a thin layer of corn flour. Okay, and then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use that oil. Now I know it's got sesame seeds in it, but I'm not going to waste that oil, just to get some more fresh oil. Okay, so we will be finishing this dish off in the wok. Okay, but first off we're going to double fry the beef. So I think they're now just about all nicely coated. Okay, so I'm going to get the oil on, and just like before, we want it up on a medium heat to about 180. All right, so you let me get that all done, and then we'll start the cooking process. And like I say, we're going to double fry it, so it's going to be quite a short fry to begin with. We're going to remove it. Again, we'll be cooking in batches, and then we'll, the door's just opening on its own, beyond, and then we will give it a second fry to finish off the crispiness. So we're all up to temperature. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to shake off any excess, and I'm just going to put that beef into there. Again, we're going to just do it in batches. We don't want to cool the oil down too much. Okay, and when it gets back up to sizzling, we're then going to cook it for about 30 seconds or so, and then we're going to drain it off, and we're just going to put it in a bowl with some paper in it just to absorb the oil, whilst we then carry on cooking the rest of it. So we're just going to keep on like that until all them beef strips have had a pre-cook. Thirsty works. Okay, we've got our sauce ingredients, we've got our other, I don't know what you would call them really, but they're the ones that we're going to be frying up before we put the beef in with the sauce. Okay, and then that should be it. So I'm going to get this cooked off. I'm not using chopsticks, by the way. I'll be here all night trying to turn this stuff over. Okay, so when we've got this ready to move on to the second cooking, I'll show you what we do next. So that's the last few bits of their first fry. So all I'm going to do now, I'm going to let this oil get back up to temperature, okay, which it just about is, and then we'll do the second fry. Right, so this is now ready to go back into the wok, okay, into that hot oil, and this time we're going to cook it for about 2 to 3 minutes to make sure it is nice and crispy, golden brown, okay, and then we'll remove it like we did before, put it back into, just drain. We'll have finished with all that oil, and we can just go to our wok and finish it off. So, see you in 2 to 3 minutes. So that's had the second fry. Okay, so now I'm just going to take this out, and like I said, we're finished now with all this oil. We'll be moving to the wok for the next bit, and we'll be finishing off this in the wok. You can see some of these bits are quite chunky. Okay, normally you might have sort of had thinner strips, but you cut it how you like I said. So just going to drain that, put it on some paper, and then we'll get the wok ready, and I'll show you how we just finish off our beef. So I'm just going to add, well, way too much, I'll take some of that out. Okay, well, I haven't said that, I just won't add any more later, I think. So now all we're going to do is we're now just going to put that on. The trivet thing is moving. We're going to get that nice and smoking hot. Okay. Okay. Once that's smoking, that chili, ginger and garlic and coriander stalks, we're going to toss that in there, and we're just going to toss it around for about 30 seconds or so to sort of get out that flavour. Okay, but we do want this really, really hot, and obviously we don't want to burn anything, so we've got to be careful. Okay, and then I've got my sauce ingredients here, all nicely mixed together, and we'll be chucking that in before we return the beef for the final sort of cookiness, if you like, and that's our chili beef done. So I wouldn't say it's smoking, but it's bloody hot. So I'm now just going to add in them ingredients, okay, and we're just going to toss that around for about 30 seconds, okay. You don't want it burning, so you need to keep it moving, okay. You start getting the chilli. I can't turn the extractor on because it makes too much blue noise, okay, but you might want to, okay. So we just cook that through, get some of that ginger flavour out, garlic, chilli. And now we take that sauce and we add that in. And now we're now just going to cook that, and obviously we want to boil that and reducing that down quite considerably because we want it nice and get the vinegar off of that. That's why you might want the extractor. Okay, That clears the old sinuses. So we're going to get that thickened up, juiced down a bit, and then we'll be ready to do the final cook with the beef. So the sauce is nicely reduced, thickened, bubbling away now. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our meat and we're going to just return that, and just going to make sure it's all nicely thoroughly coated and warm back through before we then serve it up. Okay, so when we're ready to serve it, I'll show you, well I'll taste it for you, because I know you can't taste it. So here we have a nice sticky chili crispy beef. That's straight out of the wok, so it is a bit bloody hot. It's wetter, if you like, than what I'd normally have in the Chinese restaurant. It's possibly a little bit more sweet and sour than the one that we normally have in the restaurant. But I always find the ones in the restaurant always tend to be a bit on the dry side, whereas this is nice and moist. The beef is nicely well done, but not all just dried up and whatever. So that is your Chinese crispy beef.